Tracey was a woman who was diagnosed with osteopenia, told she should take bone drugs, but she resisted, and she went on to build bone with our Better Bones program. So Tracey, just tell us a little bit of your story, how you recovered from osteopenia.
When I had my first DEXA scan and I was diagnosed with osteopenia, it was really the first time that I had ever paid any kind of attention whatsoever to my bone health. And so as the years went on and I got successive DEXA scans and realized my numbers were moving in the wrong way, then I made a conscious effort to try to do something about that. And part of that was going online. I found the Better Bones program. I made use right away of purchasing the supplements and taking the supplements. And then I would read everything that Dr. Brown put out there about osteopenia and how to correct it. I do have to be honest that it wasn't until the numbers were getting so bad that I really got serious about it, because I wasn't willing to do everything it took to make that happen.
Right.
And I had doctors, they would look at the test results, and literally I was getting scolded for not being on bone medication. But, based on the research that I'd done myself, based on the information you were putting out in your e-newsletters, and everything I could glean from these bone density improving medications, was that they were not overall in my best health interest to take.
But you say the doctors, so the doctors, when they saw your bone densities, they actually scolded you.
They scolded me. I was brought to tears by a doctor who told me I had to be on it. There was no way I was ever going to improve it. This was the only way. And it was very clear in discussing that with my doctor. Actually, it wasn't much a discussion. It was a lecture by them, that they knew very, very little about it other than to prescribe.
Yeah, and that's so very important, because so many women are totally frightened by their doctors who don't have any consideration that fear actually damages bone, and more than that there's another way to build bone. But so you didn't, even though they scolded you, even though they threatened you, you still stuck on target and developed your natural program.
Well, I need to tell you this, that I forwarded one of your blogs onto my primary care physician at the time. And when I went in for the checkup, I was essentially told, well, these people, they're just dietitians. They really don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And that kind of, that made me mad. And it was fortunate that about that same time, my insurance stopped. That particular doctor was no longer in network with my insurance. So I was forced to find another primary care physician, went to one that was even worse, until I found my current doctor, who said, I respect what you want to do. I will work with you, and I will not be lecturing you every time you come in here about the fact that you are or not on these. And I think that if you're concerned about your health and you want to make something happen, you make a commitment to make the change. Then you commit to the change. And the biggest changes that I had to make weren't the supplements. That was actually the easy part. The biggest changes were with the diet, and using the test strips to ensure that the diet I was eating was actually resulting in an alkaline pH when I got up the next day. And that was really frustrating at first, because for a while I didn't see anything. That piece of paper was yellow, and I could not get it to move green. And so it was pretty clear that whatever was going to happen, increasing my bone density, was not going to take place overnight. That it was something that I was going to have to commit to, and that I was going to have to stick to. So over a period of time, I found a diet. I incorporated more fruits and vegetables, more alkaline-inducing products into my diet. I ditched alcohol totally, less meat, started exercising, doing more bone density, building exercises. One of the things that you talked about was a study out of Australia where women were doing these, right, I think 1 rep max. And, I worked out for life. I mean, I've always worked out. But until I read that, I'm like, I have to put a little bit more stress on that bone than maybe.
Right. Good observation, yeah.
And so that's something else that I've really worked to do is incorporate, you know, heavier weights, fewer reps in an attempt to increase that bone density.
That's exactly right. So you did the diet, you did the exercises, you really worked with the nutrients, and what was the result?
The result was that in this last DEXA scan that I have in 2020, I saw an improvement in all my numbers. I was out at Lowe's when I got the call. They read me my T-scores and my Z-scores, and while they didn't look like huge improvements, to me, the fact that they were getting better and not getting worse, to me, was significant.
And that's an extremely important point. As we age, everyone loses bone. The average woman loses 45% of her bone mass as she goes from 35 to 85. And when you get to be like 60, of course, during menopause, women lose a lot. Some women lose 10%, some women lose 20%, especially thin women can lose 20% of their bone mass in those 5 years around menopause. But when you get to be 60, the average loss is 1% to 0.5%. So if you can halt bone loss and stabilize bone, build a little, that's a very good sign. That's excellent.
Yeah, I was thrilled, and it was really interesting that prior to my getting the results, or actually having the last test, my sister and I were in conversation about this very thing. She had fallen back in February. She ended up having a great deal of pain, an MRI, and found out that she'd had some spinal fractures that had healed. Now, and this is a woman whose DEXA scan results were okay.
Yeah.
And she had at one point taken Fosamax for 5 years.
That's something.
And I just found that really interesting that here's a person who's got pretty good test results. She was not osteoporotic at all. She was starting to present with osteopenia. She's older than I am, but now she's showing that she's had some issues, and she was seriously considering. She's one of those that is more prone to go right to the medication route. And she was the first call I made. I said, please don't let anybody tell you you can't do this. I am proof that you can. And she's, besides my husband, my greatest advocate with this. Well, you obviously, but you don't know me. She was my greatest advocate. And so we're working with each other to make this happen. I turned her onto your site. She's subscribing to your blog. And I talk to you with everybody I know. I met a woman in a gym, and she had a weight vest on. She was thin. She was on the treadmill. And I went up to her and I said, I see you have a weight vest on. It looked like your weight vest, as a matter of fact, the one you recommend. And I said, I just came out and asked her, I said, do you have osteoporosis? She goes, yes, I do. I said, are you taking medication? She goes, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So there are women out there, you know, like me who are doing this.
Yes, well, I certainly congratulate you on taking charge of your bone health and really establishing good bone health. I congratulate you on your willingness to, Tracey actually volunteered to do a little chat with us to try to inspire other women, to help other women see that it's possible. I really appreciate that. And I see more and more women taking charge, and I believe we're starting to appreciate the magnificence of the human body, the capacity to regenerate. And you've certainly been a great example. I thank you a lot for spending time with us. And
thank you.
And keep sharing the word. We will change the way women are treated around bone health.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, Tracey.